So, like I was saying, we're gonna turn things over to Bob. I can't see him on my screen, but I'm sure he'll pop up when he starts chatting.
I'm supposed to be here.
Yes, I see you now.
Good, thank you. Um, well, the main focus of tonight's meeting is a presentation by Mount Vernon Group. And I believe the topic is, sorry, let me turn off my heater, it's noisy. I believe the topic is exterior elevations tonight or exterior view options as presented by either Dennis or Chris. Um, and if you'd like, I can briefly go through the schedule again. It's pretty much the same thing that we've presented in the past. But if I can do a screen share here, let me try
But,
that.
but Bob, not just that the schedule's the same. Margaret really wanted us to focus on like what progress has been made in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, so I know there's been some additional meetings that have taken place. Let me just try to get my thoughts to here.
I can share some of them if you want me to.
Yeah, maybe you should because I'm trying to fumble around here to get my
Okay,
get my
I will. So we had our kickoff meeting with the MSBA on Monday the 27th, which went well. It just they just laid out different parts of the project and what to expect with schematic design. And they asked us to send a space summary as soon as we're able to with the updated ed plan and make sure that those match. But Aaron Brunel, the mayor, superintendent, Whitney, and I were all on the call. I think if Aaron or Josh or Anthony, is there anything you want to add to that? Okay. And then also, despite the snow day, we persevered and Mount Vernon Group was still able to do meetings with our staff members. So they met with the Pupil Services team, which is special education and multilingual learners team, and took notes from them about the program design. They sent me the notes. I still have to review them tomorrow, and then I can share them with you all. And then they also met with an educator advisory group, which are, everyone from music teacher, art teacher to school clerk, principal. So really rounded group of people. I think there was between 10 and 15 of us to get feedback on the design, and the design feedback was really positive. There was a lot of excitement from folks with the building, what it could accomplish. Mount Vernon Group did a great job of explaining how, like, the cafeteria, gym, stage space can be a space for like holding larger groups meetings and welcoming in the public. They talked about how the rooms are situated in pods. We're able to answer some questions for the group. The group gave some feedback on stuff, and I think we still have some room to do to make sure that everything in the space summary matches the ed plan and we understand the trade-offs, but it was a really productive meeting. So those are the big updates that I think Mount Vernon Group or anyone from Anser Advisory, anything you want to add?
Oh, thank you, Aaron. I had those dates here. I was just fumbling around trying to get them on the screen. Thanks for that summary. The only thing I could add is just again touch on some of the dates going forward, if that would make sense.
Sure.
So let me try again a screen share. Can everyone see my screen? So here we are, the week of the 27th. Today is 3/2. That's a review of the exterior building options. We have another meeting set up next week. It's the 8th, Wednesday, with starting in the mayor's office with city departments. That's police, fire, and DPW. Next
Hey,
meeting.
Bob,
Yes.
your screen is outdated. Yours is a little bit outdated from the live Google Doc that we've been working on. So would you like me to screen share?
Sure. Yeah. Are you not seeing anything at all?
I am, but I don't think you're working off our live Google Doc where we've been keeping updates.
No, I think you're sharing. I see what's going on. Hey, Bob, this is the school building project.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I have. That's what I have up on the screen.
Oh, okay, because you're going over our
I
building
think,
project with City Hall.
No, this is Margaret's schedule that I have on my screen, so I don't know what you're saying.
okay, well,
Oh,
I
I
do,
see, okay.
we just have an updated one,
So
so
we're
I'm gonna
meeting with
take
city
you
departments.
off.
Okay,
I'm
Okay.
gonna take you off, Bob, and I'll share. So, and this is all linked for everybody in the document.
okay, I
So,
apologize.
tomorrow we have our good now for the, in terms of, remember this row is the middle school building committee responsibilities, row 5. And meetings, we have our good now tour tomorrow. And actually, if it's okay, I'd love to get a sense, like, who's gonna, I have, Kenya, Wendy, and Camelia wanting to go. Does anybody else want to go? If so, please come off mute because I can't see everybody while I present. Okay, and then is anyone from that group interested in driving and carpooling? And if nobody's able to, we might have to find a different date.
I'm okay, like driving.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will connect you with the 3 online and we can figure out a good meeting spot. Thank you.
Erin,
And then we'll meet
excuse
again
me.
in 2 weeks. Yeah.
What time is that tomorrow?
Yeah, the tour starts at 4. It's about a 75-minute drive. So we were
Okay.
thinking leaving at 2:30.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then we'll meet again in 2 weeks to discuss the site plan. And then important meetings before that are the next Wednesday, they're meeting with the city departments for 90 minutes to go over their the project and get their input. So that's the biggest stuff coming up in the next 2 weeks. And then the things in red you can see here are since you saw this like 2 weeks ago, are the things that we've added, which is the tour date in Ludlow, and then also the public information sessions. Does anyone have questions about this schedule?
Aaron, thank you for filling in. I'm not sure why my screen share didn't work, but I'll need to figure out Google Docs next time.
Okay, no problem. Camelia, do you have a question?
Yeah, where we have to meet in?
Where would we meet for the carpool? Are you talking about the
Yeah.
tour
Yes,
tomorrow?
Yeah.
that, like where are you gonna meet?
Yeah, where do you want to meet? Where is best for you?
Camilia, ¿dónde es mejor para ti? Ella pregunta.
Maybe in la biblioteca, in the library.
Sure, that sounds good. So maybe put in the chat anybody who wants to meet Camelia at 2:30 at the library tomorrow for the tour of the Good Now School. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your help, Kathy. Do we not have interpretation happening, Erin?
We do. We have Johanna and Les.
Okay.
set
Okay, I
up.
just want to
Is
make
it
sure that
working?
Camilla's
Yeah.
able to, get what she needs. Okay, good.
Great.
All right, so does that cover that section then? And so Erin, I think you're next with reviewing the vision for middle school in Holyoke.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to do that last section, so I just need 30 seconds.
Yeah, take your time. Of course.
Okay. So Margaret, we've been so lucky to have different people join the school building committee over the past year and a half, and the architect team and more people from Answer Advisory. So that for long haulers who have been here for all 18 months, some of this will sound familiar, but we wanted to give an overview of how like why we're even looking at wanting to have a new middle school building and what's the vision for this middle school building. And so feel free, I'll do a presentation. If a question comes up as I'm talking, feel free just to come off mute and ask it. And otherwise I'll take questions at the end. So, well, we don't need to do introductions, but you know who everyone is. As you know, we developed a strategic plan last year with more than 1,500 people involved, and in the strategic plan tagline is "Juntos Podemos, Together We Can," and you'll see that sentiment of, you know, school partnering with families and community throughout the design of the building. Here's our vision, mission, and core beliefs. And so having a new middle school building helps us better achieve these. You can look at this all online too. And this is our learner profile, which means like, what do we want the student learning experience to be? And like, what do we want students to learn and the skills to acquire when they're students? So we collaboratively develop this too, but we want students to be able to reflect and persist, to embrace empathy and kindness, to apply critical thinking, communicate effectively, and help themselves and others. So you'll see this through the design plans. And as you are all really familiar with, we are leading with equity and really want to make sure that our schools, for example, like if you look at the second one, ensure that our students, families, and staff get the support they need to be successful. That's all about our middle school design plans. So there's been a lot of efforts in the middle school to work on improving middle school over the past few years. When Dr. Reich first came to Holyoke back in 2015, when Holyoke mostly had K-8 schools, he kept on hearing from families, community members, and staff members like, we liked when we had separate elementary and middle schools before, and so many people talked to him about it that we decided like we needed to study this, and Anthony was on teams with me to study the issue. And we did also agree and heard from a lot of stakeholders that having separate elementary and middle schools would be good for Holyoke for a variety of reasons. We knew that we couldn't get to that model right away, and we were really hopeful that we could build 2 new middle school buildings, and that every child in those middle grades would have an opportunity to experience a new middle school building. So we started to try different middle school models while we worked on the process of trying to build a new middle school. Meanwhile, the dual language program kept on growing, which is great, but it also means then you need space for, you know, middle grades students who are in dual language. And we were trying different options where middle school started at 5th grade and 6th grade. So we did a lot of experimenting, piloting, and studying what worked. And like I said, working with people in the community, we tried to analyze what worked, what needs to change, and what do people want of the middle school experience. There's a lot more information online if you want to take a peek. And so then we came to the stage in 2021, and with full support of the school committee, people decided like, yes, we want to move forward with rezoning into separate elementary and middle schools, and we didn't want to wait for a new building for that to happen because we had been already waiting a long time. And part of the reasons for moving to separate elementary and middle schools would be to better prepare students academically and socially. You can have a customized learning experience for both pre-K to 5th graders and 6th to 8th graders in a way that's more difficult to have in a school that has 10 grades, both in terms of like people's expertise on early literacy, for example, or middle school reading, and also socially, like what we expect first graders maybe to walk in line to the bathroom, but you know, 8th graders definitely don't want to do that. Moving to separate elementary and middle schools also allowed us to have continuity of programming for dual language and special education. We want to keep students within those feeder patterns so they can stay with their peers. It's more equitable and allows us to drive more resources to instruction instead of operations. So for example, like right now, one of our schools, elementary schools, just has like PE and one other special class, where another one gets 5, and we want to have more equity of opportunity across our schools. So we also had a collaborative process last year to come up with the guidelines for rezoning, and you see right at the top is design schools that put student need first and prioritize money spent on education. So that was our guideline for rezoning and how we're trying to carry that out in the middle school building project too. And as you know, we're pursuing a middle school building at the PEC site for about 550 students. We would need to vacate next year if we're able to get all the approvals, and that the building would be built by 25 or 26. And unfortunately, if the funding isn't approved, we would have to use our existing building. The students who will be at Metcalf Middle and STEM next year would move into the existing PEC space. This talks about how our vision for the future has changed and evolved. And so now I want to get into a little bit more like, what is our vision for middle school in Holyoke? We had Aaron Brunel served on this with me. We had a middle grades collaborative study team that back in 2021 really looked at this question of what do we want the middle school experience in Holyoke to look like. And we did a ton of research and read a lot of literature. Here are some of the samplings of stuff. We wanted to learn like what is best practice in the middle school experience. And we came up with this vision together with input from stakeholders through a survey that the purpose of HPS middle schools is to equip students with the skills and experiences to excel academically and socially in high school and beyond. So it's preparing them for their first next step and their next steps after, so that they have options in their schooling experience. And we really thought about what would the middle school environment that we would want most importantly for our students. And it would be one in which students are engaged in active, purposeful learning. Where educators use multiple learning and teaching approaches. There's just not one way to learn in a classroom. That students have access to activities inside and outside of the classroom, applied learning to make their learning relevant. And that the school environment itself is inviting, safe, inclusive, and supportive for everybody. And that the adults in the building are adults that value young adolescents and are prepared to teach them. And if you think about like what your middle school experience looked like, or what you might want your experience to look like for your own kids or grandkids, like I would be really happy if my kids were able to attend a school in which these beliefs were part of the fabric of the school. And so as a part of our strategic plan, I just wanted to highlight some things in the strategic plan that are particularly important as we think about what the middle school building itself looks like. Under learning experiences is making sure that in every classroom students have access and are engaged in rigorous grade level tasks in every subject area, and that teachers are supported in that. The second one is around having inclusive practices for students with unique learning needs. So, you wouldn't want students with disabilities far on another side of the building. We want them, if students are pulled out for services or when teachers are pushed in for services, that the school building environment allows that closeness. We want this school to be one that facilitates building relationships with families and students around how to meet the needs of every child. So you need meeting space, you need a welcoming space where you can hold community celebrations. The fourth one is around social emotional learning. And so we wanted to plan a schedule that builds in social emotional learning explicitly through direct teaching, but also woven throughout the school day. And then last, we have here partnering with the community, families, and staff so that students can experience positive relationships, mentorship, and access opportunities to explore their interests. So this is like a large variety of schedules, enrichment or essential opportunities, that they have access to music, art, drama, and that the building facilitates those learning opportunities both during the day and through extracurricular activities. Okay, so next up, this is a sample of what the schedule is going to look like. We worked with education resource partners this year to develop this, and once again had a task force of teachers supporting us on this. And there's just so many things that you want to try to accomplish in the schedule, and this allowed us to, this was how we maximized what was most important. It was a really big tension between, we have a 6-hour 45-minute day, so there's a really big tension between like how many classes can you have in a day. You don't want to, we wanted to ensure room for 2 different enrichments, but without shortening your blocks. You wouldn't want to have like 8 classes a day and every class is just 40 minutes. So we came up with this compromise where students have math and English as their core subjects every single day, and then every other subject is on a 5-day drop rotation. So you see, you have science 4 days a week, you have social studies 4 days a week, you get an enrichment 4 days a week, and a second enrichment, a different enrichment, another 4 days, and that there's time for intervention, acceleration, and advisory too. And students who, we'll try to have an inclusive setting as much as possible, but if students need a lot of secret services, they would get that in that second enrichment period. And then in the other school, Selvin Middle School is going to have the dual language program. That's when students in that program would have their Spanish language arts. Other students who are not in dual language, for example, would have access to like world language, for example, art, music, drama. I do want to quickly stop here because the schedule is a big deal, and the schedule drives the number, like the types of rooms you have. Does anyone have questions about the schedule that they want to ask? Just come off mute if so. Okay. And so here are some of the building needs that came through. What's this vision for middle school that we want? We had recommendations from the middle grades collaborative study team to ensure enough students per grade in school to allow for class and program variety, and have smart, sustainable staffing levels. That's how we ended up on a 550 student school. That gives you about 180 students per grade, which then is 2 neighborhood clusters of 90 kids, and each 90 kids have their core content teachers, a SPED teacher, and L teacher, to work with them. And then a counselor, probably by grade, it would be, not by pod. And then, we want all students to have access to a rigorous academic experience, including students with unique learning needs. So that's where we would like adjacent small group space close to the main classroom areas. We want project-based space, and we would need some sub-separate space for students in a specific special education program. Ensuring exposure to enrichment opportunities is really important. That's where we talk about PE and health. We'd likely have 2 teachers there, at least 1 music band teacher, 1 performing arts teacher, a visual arts teacher, a world language teacher or heritage language teacher. Consumer sciences and STEM were also very high. The media center could be used, for everybody. It wouldn't be like a specials class, but rather like teachers could take their groups, their classes into there. In order to ensure teacher planning, we need collaboration spaces and conference rooms. And then in order to ensure space for mental health and community partnerships, we wanted to plan for things like an expanded nursing suite, a parent center, enough room for therapists, Katie's Closet, which is for students students can go shopping at no cost for clothes, and you need space for the clothes, for example. Right. And so we're doing a lot of outreach and feedback. This is a bunch of stuff that we've done over the years, tons of meetings, tons of surveys, tons of people involved. It's a real delight to be able to hear from so many people and try to put together plans that are reflective of community interest and need. And we're still doing a lot of outreach right now. So the Educator Input Advisory Group will also meet on the 4th of April. We're going to have those all stakeholder meetings on the 5th and 10th, which I will be bugging you about, encouraging people to attend. And then obviously you guys have been absolute rock stars meeting pretty much twice a month for a really long time. And then we'll have the school building tours available. I also invited the educator advisory group to the tours. I did direct them towards Ludlow since it's a closer drive, and then they won't have to miss as much school. And then I invited our our middle school leaders and expert teachers in case any of them want to join too. And then, you know, we're asking different questions of people throughout these input sessions about the spaces. Obviously for us, specifically the middle school building, over the next couple of weeks, want to dig in more to like, how do you envision the building being used for community use? What are some of the most important features for the building for the public? What's the feel and spirit of the school you'd like to convey? Things like that. I'm not sure if today is the right day to do all that, but we'll kind of chunk it out over the next couple of weeks. And
you could put that in like a survey to people too, so that way they can give their feedback and then we could review it and kind of narrow things down. That's a really good point, Erin. Thank you. We do have a survey and I just forgot to write it down here, and we're going to target late. Oh, wait, sorry. I was thinking we definitely have a survey for strategic planning, and I still need to make one for that early April period for this project. Thanks. Any other questions, suggestions, comments? Okay. Thank you for listening. I hope it was helpful to like reground us in what we hope middle school education will look like, and just the importance of a building to help meet that vision. Yeah, I think it's always important to keep a keen eye on our focus. Thanks, Erin. All right, so next we're going to hear from the Mount Vernon group again, and we're going to review some exterior options for the new building. Not sure which one of you, but by all means, gentlemen, take it away.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to share my screen. And when everybody can see that.
Great. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So again, here's the site plan, as we spoke about the last time we looked at the site plan. The building has been modified a little bit, but what we're going to be doing today is looking at the elevations. That is to say, the exterior of the building all the way around the outside and what it might look like inside the courtyard as well. And what we've done is variation on the Goodnow School, which is in Marlborough, because that's pretty much what we're basing our design on. We've used a similar color palette that Marlborough had. Colors are completely flexible in terms of the color of bricks and so forth. But for those who have seen Marlborough, it's easier perhaps to understand, you know, darker on the bottom, lighter at the top. But we will go through the elevations, and I believe the first one is looking straight onto the main elevation here. And what we see is a main entry for the public and a long covered walkway that wraps around the side. The buses would be dropping off here, and this is a good place where students can learn to can wait for parent pickup or for the bus or whatever and stay out of the rain. So this is all covered from the entry all the way down and around. And we are now going to the side of the building that faces the new parking. And what you see here are classroom setups. Each group of 3 windows is a classroom, and the ones with the different looking windows in it and that poke out of the side of the building, those are the science rooms. So there are 2 science rooms at each grade. So it's 2 7th grade science rooms at the bottom, 2 8th grade science rooms above. And then 2 more classrooms to the other side on each level, and an entry from the parking lot at that level. Now, hopefully this elevation helps people understand a little bit better how having the gymnasium on the 2nd floor works. So we're sort of cutting through the hill here until we get to a level surface at the top of the hill where the second floor extends to become the gymnasium and cafetorium. And there's a walkway that goes down and into an entry at that level, and that runs the whole width of the school at the back. So you'll walk by the teacher dining, the music, the cafetorium with its stage, and then the gymnasium, and then out the other side. And if we go around to the next elevations, we see the back of the school. So you're just seeing basically that baseline that you see is the second floor line, and that's where the ground will be on the outside of the school. So you're very close to where the play fields. The play fields are, about 5 feet up from there, and we will have accessible walkways. So we're going to try to avoid using even ramps, accessible walkways for everybody to get up to the play fields, regardless of any physical disabilities. When we come over to the other side of the school where the road will run down, it again demonstrates how the gymnasium here can be up on the second floor. Again, another long walkway. You can see the ground sloping away as it's cut down, and so it's sloping in 2 directions. And that walkway will again bring you into another entry. That's the other end of that corridor that we spoke about. This side of the school is very much like the others because, as you remember, we tried to design all of our neighborhoods to be the same and recognizable. One thing that did come up at our latest meetings, and it's reflected here, and we're still working on making it work. An extra space was added because the curriculum has switched. The prescriptive approach to science, technology, math, and STE engineering spaces for the lower grades is prescriptive as 1 space per grade by the MSBA. However, the curriculum needs of Holyoke Middle Schools requires that there be 2. There'll be 2 STE teachers, and so we're designing it so they, like the other grades, will have what amounts to their science rooms. There'll be STE rooms, slightly smaller in size, and we're seeing how little we can poke it out of the side of the building to accommodate that. So it adds square footage, but we're trying to reduce our square footage to make things more efficient so we can stay in the right range. And that would happen on the first floor. And then there's a variety of spaces on the second floor on this side, which have to do with the media center. And we use that whole concept of the media center as a real anchor for the school. So you can see the tower over on the right-hand side there. That's sort of the tech lab. And one can imagine a lot of STEM sort of projects going on in there. There'll be all kinds of technology, one would hope, and it will be worked into the curriculum, I'm sure. There's plenty of head height, so things can be built in there and so forth. And then that will extend into larger group areas behind it, as well as a second floor which accommodates at the same level a fitness room and in its adjacencies, proper adjacencies, and on the other side of the corridor from that, occupational and physical therapy, as well as a large nurse's office. So we're really locating a nurse's office very central to the gymnasium, the fitness, the occupation and physical therapy, and this entry up here at the top, that if there's ever any emergency, anyone who's injured in the school can be easily taken out. So that was, and again, having the opportunity to work with the folks has really helped sort of illustrate what the needs are in this building, and it shone a light on what makes, you know, the Holyoke school system, something special in the way you're delivering, this education to the students. So again, this wraps back around the front, and you see this covered area also goes into a side entry here. The importance of this side entry is that during the beginning of school and the end of school, and if we can go back to the site plan, that entry is over here. This is where parents will be dropping off students. And they'll be able to then enter the school there, and the buses will be up here, up in the that road, and they're dropping them off in front. So at the beginning of school and the end of school, these doors can be monitored for the children who are going to be dropped off by their parents to get in on this side, and for the bus students to get on that side. After that, of course, the doors get locked, everything is sealed up, uptight, and so that's the way that works. I think we also have some three-dimensional images that give you an idea of what this school might look like as one approaches it. It's we're looking at presenting a building that has the stature of a special building, of a special place to go and to learn for the students, and something with a sense of permanence about it. I spoke earlier about the STE spaces, and you can see in our experimentation with the spaces, we're seeing that it has to push out a little bit on the first floor at the bottom, but we're doing our best, again, to control our square footage and keep it within the range of what is practical and sensible for fitting the budget and still be able to deliver the services. I think we have some 3D views of, perhaps not, of what it looks like inside of the courtyard. I'm not sure. Because I am not.
Yeah, Dennis, we don't have those images today. They're still being vetted out.
Oh, okay. All right. But we worked out if we go to that first page that we had, yes, the fenestration inside the courtyards will be similar. The fenestration, meaning, the design of the windows, will be similar to this, because in the center of the of each wing, there's sort of the big public area that, if you think of it as a neighborhood, well, the neighborhood center sort of happens in the middle with resources at either side of it, and a large open space for work to be accomplished. So the center of the building will have similar fenestration as it faces the courtyard as well. So that's, this whole sort of centerpiece is a centerpiece. It's the science rooms, it's the public workspaces, project-based learning areas, and sort of the gathering place, the town commons, if you will, of each neighborhood. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you folks might have.
Yes, Anya, go ahead.
Hi,
Hi, Anya.
hi there. I think the organization of the classrooms and the interior spaces and all the various spaces within the building make a lot of sense. I think it's a beautiful plan. I like that there's a courtyard. I like that it's kind of four-sided. And at the last meeting, Dennis, I think you actually said this building has 4 facades or fronts. And I was thinking that the side facing Beach Street would have a little bit more of a front of building look rather than behind of the building. I know that it's, form follows function, and it's a big gym, and you're left with kind of a big square there. But if that could be somehow.
That's the one on the bottom. That's the one on the bottom. And this, if you look at the bottom elevation, as you're approaching from Beach Street, because of the elevation of all the land around you, what you really be seeing is from about the first bay of windows, classroom windows beside the entry to the entry, no, to the other direction, Chris.
Isn't it the west the west
is.
elevation would be Beach Street. If you're not Beach, I'm sorry, Route 5. If you're looking across Crozier Field, you have a view right now
Oh,
of Peck
okay.
Middle
If you-
School.
if-
So
yes,
if you're
if you-
driving, if you're on Route 5, I'm sorry,
The
yeah, it
west
wasn't Beach,
elevation.
where you have a clear view across the recreational fields of Peck School right now. I'm looking at Google
Right.
Street View. You see Peck School on there. So this is
Right.
the view you'd be looking at, and I'm just wondering if we want to, I
be-
know
it would be
budget's a
lower.
real concern, but just to break that up and make it look
Well,
as
it could
beautiful
be.
as the other
This is-
three sides.
This is the way remember, you're looking at the gymnasium, so forth. So we don't have any glass. We'd be using a cow wall sort of material, so there'd be no glare in the gymnasium with plenty of light.
Mhm.
You can do really nice things with that.
Like a nicer membrane of
Everything
that.
and everything. This setup is, again, because of the model school, this is reflective of the pattern that was used in Marlboro, but there's a lot of flexibility in how the cow wall could be set up. This is back of the house. This is the back of the gymnasium storage and toilet areas, but certainly we can bring some light in by using various kinds of windows there. And you have to remember as well, you'll be looking across a field, and this is still going to be lower.
Be down a little bit, yeah.
It'll
You'll
be
only see
down
that
about
top.
5 feet, yeah. So
But
you're
every
really gonna be
commissioned
seeing the
mural
top.
would enhance all that brick space.
You really could. I was thinking the same thing with some
You
kind
know,
of
and
slick
that won't
membrane
add
or art.
cost. Yeah, that would be something amazing. You could like put it forth to the high school art program and have a contest and like pick a winner and like, let kids make a mural that's obviously approved.
That could be
and
fantastic.
Wouldn't
Or
that be
even-
amazing on that
And
large
incorporate
space?
the school name with it too. Because right now it's kind of the front for a lot of people who don't go down there to school.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you're driving through Holyoke, you may
And-
catch your eye, a beautiful mural.
That's
And my
a
other
great
question,
idea.
just about if the HVAC units on top of the roof, if those are shown right now, or
They-
like
you
any
know-
kind of chillers, and would we see those?
They are not shown because they have to be worked out by the our engineers. But they so exactly where they're going to be located, we're going to go with an all-electric building. So this will probably be having voltaic arrays on the roof as well.
Oh wow. Maybe those
No.
voltaic arrays could partially even hide whatever
Yeah. and-
mechanics
and-
they need to.
So
Exactly.
Dennis, if I could add a
Yes.
few things.
Yeah.
So Anya, I'll go back to your first question or comment about looking at the back. So one of the things we can do is, as you see in the site plan, maybe plant a few trees there to help break up that elevation. Between the beach, the fields and the backside, if you will. And the photovoltaics are usually pretty low.
Mhm.
They're
Okay.
not typically high.
Right.
When we put them on the roof, they're
They
very
like
low
them flat on
profile.
the roof these days.
Right,
Okay. You don't want to sail up there.
right.
Where we're generally finding, for efficiency's sake, the equipment being located is generally right in the center of the classroom wings, because it makes for the easiest distribution. So they would be centered like over the corridor, which is down the middle, and sort of in the center of the wing.
Do they typically sit out in the open and they need like breathing space, or are they ever like have something kind of
There-
obscuring
there-
them, or like a
There's
parapet wall? or something?
screening, there's screening devices available, and that could be put in as an alternate
Okay.
in the plans. They can be expensive, but one of the nice things about it is, again, this is not the exact plan of it, because it's a little squarer across the bottom there, and that cutout on the roof is really moved over a bit. So, but what's nice about it is that center of the building is where we're doing something a little bit different with the fenestration. So if we put an alternate with screening, it would be right over that section. It would sort of, make sense in terms of the composition of the elevation.
And most people probably don't even notice them.
They disappear.
Yeah, you get used to it.
When you are up at a higher elevation, you do.
You can, and the building materials, what is with the lighter color? If the darker is brick, would the lighter also be
those are two different
masonry?
color bricks.
Okay, masonry.
Yeah, and so we can,
And that's a concrete product, both of them.
they're both brick products, so they're not concrete. The only thing that would be a concrete product.
No, but modular concrete brick, like it's not clay, or
yes, it would be clay.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, because concrete is very.
It's gonna.
It falls. No, much higher quality
Nice.
materials. There are a few places where there'll be direct applied insulation systems, but they'd be up high where they can't be touched and generally undercover and so forth.
And everything guttered. Or downspouts.
Yes,
okay.
Downspouts, and everything will be brought down to subsurface drains.
And last question, what material for the downspouts? Is there a big cost, between, a copper and then obviously not probably a copper, but what kind of colors sometimes there?
Well, their colors are, there's all kinds of availability in colors. So everything from white to black and everything in between.
Like a brown maybe or something?
Because we'd be using metal gutters or aluminum, heavy aluminum, but, and they would be, strategically located. All of the main roofs will be drained with interior roof drains.
Mm-hmm.
So that the only place there'll be gutters is around the sloped roofs.
Oh, okay.
Those down leaders will be carefully designed to be, tucked in corners and make sense.
That makes sense.
Down.
All right.
That's it. Thank you. It's a beautiful
Great
building.
questions. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dave, Mr. Yost?
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to kind of go the other way on the windows. I'm wondering if that's, if it's necessary to have them that large. I'm just thinking from the, standpoint of energy efficiency. Is there if you want to highlight that area, is there another way you could highlight it rather than having the larger windows?
There's the same amount of glass. It's just broken up differently. But I understand your question. There's the same amount of glass pretty much going into things. There's a good chance as we look through this that the upper panes would in fact, what we have done generally in the past is on the south side of the building. And that would be the other side. We would use what we call brise soleil at this band that's near the top of the window. What that does is it creates a shadowing structure that shadows the direct sunlight from coming in the classroom, and on the inside of that, a light shelf, which allows the light to come in the high window and bounce off the ceiling. However, because of the new energy codes, we're exploring the possibilities of the top of the windows just becoming a insulated panel. So it'd be like they would serve like a wall, but visually from the outside serve like a window opening, which helps scale the building more appropriately. So that's an excellent question. So we'd get plenty of sunlight in, but you'd probably, we have to check against the energy codes, but there's a good chance that they would be spandrelite, or that would be spandrel wall in there and not real vision glass.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, Mr. Anderson, Whitney?
Thank you. Mr. Collimore has a question. Go ahead, Ronnie.
By all means, Ronnie, you have the floor.
Yes, just take a look at the back of the building, the road going down to the high school. Is that something that came up?
Yes,
in
you want to go back to the
discussion?
site plan, Chris? Yes, the road that's going down to the high school is where Chris is pointing out right now. And
Yeah,
we talked about that road and just being a paved road. And here's the interesting way we're gonna try to handle that. We're gonna have the road, because it's so steep, would not be accessible, handicapped accessible for walkers, but we'll do a separate walk design that might wind itself a little bit more gracefully up the slopes and still bring us to the school. So the road itself would be a vehicular only road, but we would establish walkways that will get us up to the school.
I'm looking at that design there, the road coming in from what is now the cafeteria area.
What?
Ronnie, I don't think they would know what you mean by what's now the cafeteria area. So do you mean the road to the right that goes in the neighborhood, or the road that is currently where the parking is?
The road to the right that goes to the.
Okay, that's what I
Yes.
thought. So
Yes.
yeah, that one.
Yes, that road is that's school property. That's a road, that's a school road.
What was your question?
No, the question is, I'm looking at it, it looks a lot wider than the road coming up from the high school. Is that gonna
Yes.
be just a one-way street, or?
For buses
expect
only,
it
I
would be-
believe is the intention, Mr. Collmore.
Yes.
The street coming from the high school will be for buses only.
Buses only, one way.
One way?
Yes, sir. That
For
was,
buses entering the school in the morning and for buses entering the school in the afternoon.
and then buses have the option of going either out to the right or straight out the other way, depending on what neighborhood they're serving, so forth.
Do we really need a road going down into the parking lot and more buses coming in off of Beach Street close to the front of the high school and then up this hill?
Well, again, that would be a question for transportation and for administrative thing. We were asked to look at that being paved because it seemed that the general feeling was that would be the appropriate way for the buses to come up. There's any number of ways buses could come into the school, and that transportation would have to work that out. But this is offering a new way to the school that can really help separate the parents' vehicular traffic and other vehicular traffic from the buses, and make for that 20 minutes before and after school work a lot more smoothly. So
Mr.
that's
Soto, did you want to
great
jump in on
questions.
that? I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I just wanted to state that I think this design and what we're talking about right now is flexible enough for the school administrators to adapt. Like if we have right now we're talking about that being an entrance for buses only, but that could also be where parents drop off only, so that there's not a huge holdup of traffic on Beach Street. It all depends on, like, once we start school, like, depending on how many buses versus walkers we have in the area, this design with the separate entrances, it would allow the school to do some really nice things that would help, like, with traffic flow. So, it's not set in stone that that's where buses would go in, but we could design it that way, and then it allows the school to be adaptable. Because oftentimes, schools don't have this level of design for traffic flow, and we have to create it on our own by buying like artificial barriers and things like that, so that parents are coming in one way and buses are coming in another way. and there's not just a ton of traffic on, you know, if you go to Sullivan or McMahon, some of those areas, drop off and pickup becomes really difficult because we don't have a design like this. So this is gives us the flexibility that we need to just do what's right with by the school.
Mhm. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because we designed the school several years back with two different ways for drop off. And it was imagined in the beginning, oh, this will be the parent drop off and this will be the bus drop off. But after a few years, they reversed them because of the number of drop offs they had and the type of experiencing over a couple of years with traffic. Having that amount of flexibility allowed them to revamp, but still use all the same roads.
Dennis, this is Whitney Anderson with Ronnie Collmore here, and I think Anthony made a great point that it is the queue primarily for dismissal, which becomes rather lengthy. And if we could look at perhaps widening that access road from the Dingle and have a conversation in relationship to get your opinion and your engineers to determine the width of the road necessary to commingle a queue for the parent pickup at dismissal time, as well as to allow unencumbered access for the buses, if that was the primary motivation for that. It would be a great conversation.
Well, wasn't the whole point to have them separate though?
Well, I don't, where else would we put the parent queue? Would that be coming in from Russell Terrace?
Yes.
Okay, so then that again would be part of that conversation to see exactly, to determine, you know, what type of, and we really don't know how many cars we would be expecting there. But if you look at Sullivan, there's got to be 75 to 100, Donahue 100, McMahon 100 every afternoon. So those would be considerations that we would seriously want to presuppose. And like you said, Dennis, the best plans, all of a sudden they start using it in a different fashion. But at least if it meant widening that access road from the high school by 10 feet, then it's probably not that insurmountable to consider that if you're going to be putting a road in the first place.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thanks guys. I will move on to Bob Stevens.
Yeah, I have a quick question, Dennis or Chris. The upcoming code changes, including in particular the energy code changes, which I understand are kind of uncertain or ambiguous. Do you have any more information on that, and how would it affect your elevations? Would you have to decrease the size of your windows, or would you need to go to like a higher performance glass?
We're looking at both. It may mean triple glazing on windows, you know, with the new energy code, and then overlay the stretch code on top of that. You know, that's why we're looking at things like spandrelite, and so we get the proper proportioning of windows. You know, even the look of the windows from the outside is important, and understanding that it's the building is not just enclosed with a lot of little holes in it. But definitely it's going to have an impact. And that's why I mentioned where we used to use the upper windows as with light shelves and things like that. We'll probably be seeing spandrelite in those windows instead, and being insulated that way and to meet the energy code. So that's like having a wall there. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't see any other hands up. So Dennis, if you were through, we can move on.
Yes, no more questions. That's good, I think.
All right, thank you so much. So we're going to move on to working group updates. If anybody has met in the last 2 weeks, I can speak for the communications group. Being last week was school vacation, we didn't meet. So, but I believe we'll be meeting again shortly. So I don't know if academics, building design, or finance has met.
Yes, we have not met.
Academics and extracurricular.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Dasheen, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just saying we have not met.
Okay. Mr. Lubold?
Yeah, so we have not met, and I actually had asked Margaret
what type of things should we be meeting about? Because really, there's no direction on any of the committees on what we should be doing and looking at. Like I would have thought a lot of the discussion tonight would probably go through the building committee that, I'm the supposed chair. But if it's gonna happen at these meetings, then is there even a need for our group to even exist? Margaret didn't really know how to answer it. And so I'm kind of at a loss myself on why even meet, I guess.
Aaron, did you want to jump in?
Yeah. The question about the purpose of the meetings are bigger than me, but things I was thinking for the academics and extracurricular group. Sorry, I have a huge echo. Does someone want to mute?
I have it too.
Okay.
Me too.
Can
Okay,
everyone
I'm
mute?
muted, Jackie. I think.
Oh, it's gone. Thank God. Okay.
So the academics and extracurricular group could take a look at the updated educational plan to become more knowledgeable about that. And if they wanted to join, if you have any non-voting members that want to join the tours, they'd be welcome. And then Mark, I was thinking that I could forward you the notes from the that Mount Vernon group is doing for, on their detailed meetings, so that your group can be more knowledgeable about just like the themes that you're hearing, so that when we're looking at plans, you could bring that lens to it too. Those were two thoughts I had. If people think those are good ideas.
Thanks, Aaron. Mr. Yost, have you guys met finance?
There we go. Yeah, we haven't met yet, but I do want to meet soon. I think a couple of things we talk about is what we're calling the early bidding package, to try and I guess you'd say kind of sell that, because it's kind of a new thing, but it's really there's a lot of savings to be had in that, to try and show people how that works. And I think also to look at, now we've got that workbook, that finance workbook, to take a look at that also.
Yeah, that would be great. You guys can start building our argument with City Council on why this makes so much good sense. Ms. Glasheen, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Mark said, because I have trouble meeting for meeting's sake. So I guess maybe I could talk to Aaron offline about more specific things. We have looked at the new ed plan. We did look at that at the beginning. We could review it again, but I guess I'm looking for an objective or purpose for my group. And I think as we get closer to like the actual building being built, we will have more to talk about. But I just wanted to give that 2 cents.
Thank you.
I definitely agree with Jackie, and people shouldn't meet just to meet, certainly. If one of your people wanted to join the Educator Input Advisory Group to be hearing that group's feedback, you'd be welcome. And then Dave, also, we're working on a presentation for City Council about like, why do we choose a model school and Mount Vernon group and stuff. So I'm saying this out loud, that would be a good thing for me to give to you, so that your group can take a look at it too and offer feedback. What might we be missing as we put that together?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good, because that, as I said, that early bid package is, I think, a major factor in why we chose Mount Vernon, because of savings that could be had with that.
Yeah. So
with the early bid package, do we need to go in front of City Council twice, right? Like we have to get the first early bid package approved and then go back for the vote for the full bond. Is that my understanding of that? Anybody?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, because they'd be approving that first part before even the second part is finalized. Whereas the traditional way, everything would be all lined up. improve one thing at once, so.
Say it again. So what's the question?
The question is, do we need to go in front of city council to get the demolition approved before we go to get the full package approved with the way we're structuring the steps of this?
It sounds like to me, and Margaret's not here, but Aaron, mark me if I'm wrong. My understanding is, and we're dealing with the whole chicken and the egg situation again and timing. My understanding is that we're going to go in front of the council to get the authorization for the anticipated cost of the project. So we're not going to have on time, the design folks are going to do what they do and they're going to do their number crunching and stuff putting, but it sounds like to me that it's all going to be incorporated, including the demo costs of that authorization. Aaron, did I get that correct or am I off?
I think that you're definitely, my understanding, I think you're definitely correct on that. It will be all part of the estimates. The estimates are happening in April. So I think we will have a real number to go to city council with by early May. It's that the vote language, which I still need to look up, it's on my to-do list for tomorrow, says something like, assuming that the Massachusetts School Building Authority provides their funding share to Holyoke, then the Holyoke City Council approves their share, and this is how much their share would be. So it's like, basically the city council can vote in advance of the Massachusetts School Building Authority because their meeting's late June, and then we wouldn't have time to go to city council. But the city council's vote is only pending the MSBA's approval. The city.
But that number that we're going in front of the council with, that's the projected number. That's not the actual number, is it?
I mean,
That's correct, yeah.
But it's what two estimators come up with.
Yeah, but once you get the bid, that determines the actual number.
And then, okay, so we're not gonna have the actual number once the bids come in. And then I guess to the other Aaron's question about demo, I think the demo costs are in that initial estimate we bring in front of the council. Am I correct?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Mr. Tallman, did you want to?
Yep. Yeah, I believe there was there's going to be something from the committee, our committee, to finance first in early May, and then there's going to be discussion. And I'm sure once it gets to the full board early May, then it'll be sent to the finance committee, which will discuss it. And it may take more than a meeting to go over everything.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, yeah, right.
Yep. Nope. You're spot on. So Aaron is going to get me. We spoke with MSBA about a week ago, so they have some sample language. As soon as I get that, I'm going to forward that to you. So you can start the process. So go to your council, and then it's going to go to finance committee, and then now, hopefully we can get your committee to meet sooner. And then we have our own finance committee too, of this group too. So timing it's a little bit stagnant. It's not that great here, but we'll get through this together. But yeah, so that we're not getting this to you in May and for having you to come up with a decision in one meeting, although that would be great. In case there might be 2 or 3, I want to get that to you sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree.
Should we try to decide on that date now as a committee and vote to move forward with a specific date that we plan to have an initial city council proposal ready?
I think it was on the bid. I think that Aaron sent it. I think it was in the meeting for tonight. I thought it said like May,
we haven't set
May
a
2nd.
specific. Yeah, we haven't set a specific date yet. We keep saying like April, May, but we haven't set a date yet. So, Mr. Tallman, if you can help us with the calendar of when we should come to city council, knowing it's going to probably get sent to finance, right? Hopefully it takes one finance meeting, but let's say worst case scenario, it takes 2 finance meetings.
I'm going to say it's going to take 2 at least.
Right. And then goes back to the full council. That's a full month of a cycle. So we need to be in front of council at the end of April.
Your every first and third Monday, right?
We've been meeting, the Wednesdays now. Joe is, Councilman McGivern's the chair, has been having them on, Wednesdays.
Wait, but
before
first,
our
I'm,
meeting.
I'm talking about the full council. You meet every first and third Monday?
Tuesday, first and third Tuesday. So I think it's May
So,
2nd. If we can get
assuming I
that.
get it tomorrow before noon, we can make your full council on the 7th, but I don't think I have to go rush that fast. I can aim for your 21st city council meeting. Then it get moves to finance. After the 21st, what's your next recurring finance committee meeting?
I think that might be much sooner than we need if you're talking about March.
No, because that gives finance committee to do their thing in the month of April, because it's got to go back to the full council. And that'll be May. And mind you, we're going around April, May. Finance committee is going to be super busy with meeting with departments, going over their individual budgets. We're starting now to plan for the next fiscal year. So I want to get it in the queue. That's all. Like, opposed, you know what I mean?
So, Mr. Mayor, I would ask Dennis Daly, when is the official estimate going to be properly vetted and available for distribution?
Or at least like an estimate rate.
No, the real deal.
Well, is Frank on here? He's not. Chris, did we develop the estimate to that grant, our schedule to that granular, detail?
Because until you have that available, you don't have anything to present.
Right. Chris, oh, you're muted.
I'm looking for that schedule now, Dennis.
Yeah.
Give me a second. I think I can get that for you.
I think we had
So I'm gonna probably butcher your
block of
first
time.
name, but Ksenia with Margaret's office. If you want to chime in by any means, feel free to chime in because I see that your hand is raised.
Thanks. Hi.
Can you pronounce
So
your first name?
Ksenia.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So the work that Mount Vernon Group is doing, and friends from Mount Vernon Group jump in and correct me if I'm getting any of this wrong. I'm still catching up on the project here, but it is the feasibility phase redo, right? Schematic design.
Design,
That
yeah.
is with the MSBA, the current like contract and budget that's authorized is for that phase specifically. So the next phase of the design work, which isn't contracted and isn't budgeted, in an approved budget with the MSBA is the detailed design. And in order to put anything out to bid, whether that be the early package or the full shebang, you need to actually develop biddable documents, which the schematic design phase isn't giving us, right? So I just wanted to point out that before, and Dennis, sorry, I'll hand it over to you in just a second, but in order to, there's going to be some intermediate additional steps here that also involve approving, further commitments to develop the design. Dennis, go ahead, I interrupted you.
No, that's exactly right. We had developed a schedule that was, and I think Margaret was involved in it. We using, and one can only forecast so much, but based on the board meetings, we set dates as benchmarks. So that gave us an idea. That's why I was asking Chris how granular we really got about dates, because we sent benchmarks for different events to happen along the course, based on approvals at MSBA and so forth. So I think we might have a time period within which one would expect bids, but not a solid date, but I could be.
It said the estimates reconciled the week of March 30th. Is that
Right.
what you're looking for?
Yes, yes.
That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
So call it April 1st.
Okay. So,
Wait, but she said 3:30, but that doesn't make. Yeah, 3:30.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
it goes in at 3:14. Is that correct? That's when the estimate process starts. Was that
That week, yes.
Yeah. So 2-week turnaround there. When do you normally get it back, Dennis? Couple weeks,
Something like, I don't know,
Chris?
who Margaret's, no, I have the answer, I just don't know how busy, Margaret's estimator is, but, you know, given a couple weeks, I know our estimator is so used to the, understands the model school inside and out, and he can see, deal with it. 2 weeks is fine, you know, to turn that around. If both estimators can get them done in a couple weeks, then it takes a day to reconcile the bids. Very rarely do we ever have, usually 2 days of schedule for reconciliation. Really, it always happens in one.
All right,
let's, if you're talking about a 2 to 3 week process in an ideal situation.
give me another week or two to solidify this, and we'll get back as far as
Okay.
we'll
I think some
Aaron and
potential
Margaret.
dates. So just thinking out loud, we wouldn't need to be, well, maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, we wouldn't necessarily need to be like 100% to go to the initial city council, because we know we're just going to go to finance, right? So if we went
and I learned this from dealing with the police audit stuff. If we're going to introduce anything to the council, we have to have whatever documents we're sharing
ready
in the matter of procedure. Otherwise, yeah, the agenda will be in front of finance committee, but when documents and numbers are ready, I have to put it to the city council to receive, to send to finance. You know what I mean? So it's, you know.
All right.
So that's why I said, let me get another, I'll take this on, the planning part. I'll work with Margaret, Aaron, understand a little better on estimators, and when we think we're gonna look at the schedule, get you a better idea of what that timeline would look like getting in front of the council. I'll get back to you.
That makes sense.
Okay. Sounds good. Mr. Lubold, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Peter if we come forward with a dollar amount, right? Does it have to be like in a legal form that gets presented to the full city council, and then that goes to finance, you know, for bonding kind of
Yeah,
language?
I believe so. They might have to go down with the language at the law department, right? I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I'm not sure how long.
Or the treasurer, yeah, the treasurer's office, yeah.
We would have that language ready ahead. Yeah.
All right.
So so through the treasurer's office, they work with bond counsel, you know,
Yeah.
and they'll get the proper language. So we'll make sure that the item on the council agenda is what the vote's gonna be for the authorization. So we're not waiting, you know, finance committee says, all right, send it to legal. Let's wait until we hear something. You know what I mean? We'll have all that ready.
Yeah, and if we're recommending, you know, kind of a two-phase, doing the site work demo first, are those two separate bonds that come forward?
No,
or are they
one, I think.
all part of the same?
I think it's all, from my understanding, last time we talked about this, it's all in one.
Okay.
In that number.
Yeah.
What Margaret presented to me prior to, it's included.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any thoughts on this topic of conversation while we're on it?
So it would work in relationship to the council meetings. Peter, if you did have a meeting for a full board and to bring the item forward on a Tuesday, and your traditional meeting for the finance subcommittee meetings is on Wednesday, you could meet the following day, perhaps, if the chairman's schedule would allow that. And then for further review the following week, and still have plenty of time to meet the third Tuesday.
The finance committee to meet the day after the council meeting?
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen.
Usually it doesn't.
They could do it anyway.
Time to file the order.
2 notice, you gotta have 2 days notice and everything, and
It has to be on the agenda. They haven't even accepted and
Oh,
received
very
it.
good.
Right.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
So no late files for subcommittees?
We're not doing too many light files, no.
Okay. Just trying to help.
just one other step in between there, and I don't know if this matters to the vote, but, so schematic design happening now, estimating based on that, reconciling of the estimate, right? Then, submission of all of that, you know, of a project budget to the MSBA, which I think is planned for third weekish of April, right? And then I don't know how long it'll take them to turn that around. And vote, right? It has to go to a vote there. So if the reimbursement component is significant to how the rest of the process with financing goes, then that's another chunk of time in between.
Well, you'll have a 3011 established at the end of the schematic process.
That
So
is exactly right. The 3011 will be established, and that will be the basis of a lot of decision making.
that's the foundation of the budget, and
That's
that'll
absolutely
already
right.
be established.
Can you please tell us non-contractors what a 3011 is?
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah, what is
budgetary agreement between the MSBA and the recipient host,
Okay.
which would be us, and it takes into numerical form the reimbursement for every single line item within the project that's proposed.
Right. It determines what's reimbursable, what isn't, at what percentage, all that.
City share.
A fixed amount that you know that's going to be reimbursed.
And that's what you both can count on.
That is what I was referring to, though, the process. So there's, once the estimates are
After
reconciled, that gets put together and gets submitted to the MSBA, and they need to review, approve, and vote on it. So that's another period of time, you know, while they have it in their hands.
Yes,
it's part of a chain of events.
Yeah.
And once that is done, then the rest of it is that detailed design gets authorized.
Correct.
Right.
And what would happen here is this process, taking that 3011 or that budgetary agreement, would be brought into an effect for the community based on those numbers prior to acceptance by the MSBA. So therefore, your authorization from the city is contingent, and is contingent upon MSBA approval. And if they don't approve whatever, and everything goes south, then everybody goes back to their respective corners, and that's the end of the deal.
Right, and the contingency, well put, Whitney, and the contingency is, as we all know, once it goes before them, especially since this is a model school, it's going to be accepted. But if it doesn't, if God forbid something terrible happens and the state needs money for something else, whatever, it's always contingent upon the state funding.
So think of it this way in regards to this new notion of the 3011. The state comes up with those numbers.
Oh yeah.
They are the ones that prescribe that, and we are the ones that reiterate that to them. And so therefore, basically, we are telling them something that they've already told us. And so as Frank says, you know, this is a model. This has been done numerous times. The costs are very well established, minus escalation, which would need to be really the one variable there, aside from any economization that we'd like to do with any particular the features and the
materials and features, exactly
materials
right.
within the school, which most likely would be enhanced in our favor in the form of a credit. So that makes that number look even better. But they would not reject their own numbers. It's just, it's not a hypothetical that you would have to concern ourselves with.
No, but it's all, the proper way to do it is, as you said, it's contingent upon the vote, and we have to make sure that that language of contingency is in it.
Is in the bonding authorization.
That's exactly right.
That's correct.
And no, it's really again, the schedule as foreseen based upon the board meetings of MSBA makes tremendous amount of sense in, with really any budget, but especially with a model school. There shouldn't be any holdups whatsoever. Well, as long as we're ready to make, our presentations, in time for MSBA to make their presentations to the board, there should be no problem at all.
And this particular process is very crucial in regards to David Yost and his committee, as well as everybody else who's actively paying taxes in Holyoke, is that we're trying to eliminate escalation costs for an entire fiscal year. So with that, pardon me, a calendar year, I should say.
Calendar, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
calendar.
correct. So based on the cost of the project, so if escalation is 5% on a $70 million project, the potential savings here, which as Aaron Linville had, reiterated our purpose for proceeding ahead with this desire to build a school. So this expedited function actually saves the community a basis of that, which is $3.5 million at $70 million. And then consequently, also the expedited demolition has further enhancements to savings. So there's a potential easy $3 to $4 million worth of savings right off the bat, but just by utilizing this mechanism.
That's exactly right. There's savings in two ways. If you do the early bid package, you're doing it as horizontal construction. So it only includes demolition and site preparation. Therefore, it's bid differently, and that contractor does not have to take on any filed sub-bidders or anything else. They put in one price, they do the job. It's quick, it's simple. The general conditions are fast and simple, and it's time oriented. That's all being done while we're still continuing to prepare the project to go out to bid. So then when that project goes out to bid, that they're bidding on building, a general contractor is bidding on a project on a prepared site.
Yeah.
Really brings that cost down quite a bit. And now he's working with filed sub-bidders, but one of his own subcontractors, which would be the site contractor, their work is diminished quite a bit. So there's savings both in time and in the expense of the contract itself. It's really good.
There's a unique way you can think about it. If you were a homeowner and you had some substantial work to be done on your home and you needed to do some preparation work, but you had entered into a contract and you hired the electricians, you hired the plumbers, you hired whoever you needed to have, but they couldn't work until the first phase was done, and they're sitting in your driveway. And you're paying for them to sit in your driveway, waiting for that moment that they can become activated. This might be kind of a little metaphor, if you will, how this expedited process works. With the expedited process, just the people that are specific to the site are on the site, and everybody else is out doing something else and not charging you.
That's really well put, Whitney. That's, again, I was talking construction talk, and please forgive me. That's what I was talking about in terms of general conditions. People will be able to come on that site and begin building and building right away. And yeah, that's a great analogy.
All right, great. Well, we're gonna move on, gentlemen. And I guess we'll make sure on the agenda for our next meeting that we have a little bit more information on exact timing of when is best to go in front of council. Reviewing next step from last meeting, we need to approve our minutes. Hopefully some folks had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting. So I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes from May 2nd, March 2nd.
Thank you, Mr. Tallman. Can I have from
Or April.
February 16th?
February.
Can I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
I heard Ms. Glasheen. Thank you very much. I'll take a show of hands, whether it's your real hand or your digital hand. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, I should have asked for more discussion first, but you all know by now you can butt in if you need to chat. So that passed unanimously. I got a side note that the Marlboro tour might not actually happen tomorrow. So Miss Linville will reach out to those who had signed up and confirm the details if that is moving forward. Mr. Garcia, did you need to add something or was your hand just raised from the vote?
No, add something.
By all means.
I didn't get an opportunity to do this at the beginning of the meeting, but introduce to you Anya Duffy, who was asking.
We did that at
me-
our last meeting.
We did it last time.
I did it at your last
We
meeting?
spent
Do
like
it again
20
anyway.
minutes.
Sorry, we did
all
it
went
without
through
you.
and told
Did
each
I
other
miss
our
the
life
last
stories.
meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, was that when I was
Puerto
away?
Rico.
Yeah.
Come on, let's hear it anyways.
Yeah, I was really trying to go for 100%. All right.
Oh, that's
Thank
okay.
you.
We won't
Thank you,
hold it
Mayor.
against you.
All right.
No,
Sorry.
we went
everybody.
around and everyone introduced themselves and I
Hey,
said
so I want
hi.
to know, is Anja on Mark's committee?
I think is at the site and building and
Oh, she is, Mark?
construction.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Aaron Linville, would you please put Anja on Mark's committee?
Yes, I
Okay.
will do that.
Thank
All
you.
right, great. Thanks,
I don't
everyone.
have
So
anyone
Sorry.
to drive to Good Now tomorrow. So unless someone says right now that they can drive, we'll reschedule that for a time later on. Okay, we'll reschedule that. Chris, you do not need to take us there. Please tell the principal. Thank you. And we'll reschedule.
Ms. Brunel, may I ask one other question? Do we have a current list of contact information for all the members that's might be
I don't know if it's been shared with the committee, but yes, we certainly have a list.
yeah, because I'd like to know how to get in touch with Anja, for instance, and so forth.
Sure.
I'll
I think
send that
it's
out.
public too. So yeah, Aaron can circulate that.
Thank you, Aaron.
No problem. All right. So moving forward, folks, we've got Thursday, March 16th is our next meeting, Zoom. And then Thursday, March 23rd after that. And as you'll continue to look, there's a few other dates, which I know Aaron briefly went over with us earlier. But Friday, March 31st, we're going to plan to make a tour of the school in Ludlow. And then we have an in-person public meeting. April 5th is our first public meeting like within the district. It'd be really great if we could have some people come and support. The communications working group will of course be putting out a flyer to help advertise that. So if committee members can share on social media, share the flyer, talk to your kids, parents, whatever you can do to help spread the word so that we have a well-attended meeting, that would be great. And then we're going to do a virtual follow-up to that, and that's going to be April 10th. And then Thursday, April 13th is one of our next, we're going to review the draft of schematic design submittal. That's one of our next meetings. And then Thursday, April 25th. And of course, we will have some dates added in for city council and things like that, and maybe some subcommittee meetings as we move forward. So next steps, you guys can all read through that on the agenda, which Aaron has written in. So Aaron Linville is going to get us the language we need to prepare the vote for city council. Josh is to work with Aaron and Margaret on the timing of that. Aaron has those questions for hers from her slide. So I suggest that she sends us those questions like in a email or a survey, and then we can respond to her that way. She has the draft presentation for Counselor David Yost to review for Finance Committee. She'll send that. Mount Vernon Group is meeting with Aaron and Whitney and some others to reconcile the space summary and the ed plan. So if anybody wants to volunteer or be part of that meeting, you can let us know. And yeah, go ahead, Ms. Linville.
Yeah, Mount Vernon Group, when can we do that? Because it seemed like it was time sensitive. Could you send me some dates for times for maybe Monday or something?
Yeah, that came up in our MSBA meeting the other day, right? So they're looking for that information.
Yeah,
as soon as designing the rooms.
So, Aaron, I'll reach out
space
to you on potential dates. I'll follow up with our team to see where we're at.
Great.
We are making a few
Cross-reference with the ed
adjustments.
plan.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
And then that's it.
Just a
No,
question.
You have to talk about the effect on the ed plan of the additional spaces that fit the curriculum. There was a consumer arts, as well as an extra STE space. We're working with that, but, so that's what we're working on now.
Great. And the sub-separate spaces, I wasn't positive we had all
Sub-separate
those.
spaces, we've got all of those in.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'll need some help looking through that.
Yeah, there's one at every grade level, and there's also 2 ABLs.
Great, okay. I can't wait to meet.
Whitney, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, just based on your reconciliation of the chronology here. So Mr. Collmore and I were talking before the meeting in regards to the Ludlow tour and trying to remember it. And as you remind us now, it's the 31st of March. It seems like a long way away, and maybe there's a painful reason why it ended up there, because I know it's hard to get everybody's schedule figured out. That's 4 weeks away. Can we bump that a little bit? I know Chris has got an in there and we could probably get in, but is there a reason why it's 4 weeks away, or did I miss something?
The Ludlow tour you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went based on what people shared that their availability was. I looked
Yeah.
at the states of the week. You don't
Okay.
want to do it on the St. Patrick's Day. So,
Yep.
And a lot of people have RSVP'd, and it doesn't seem like it's changing the plan design. So I think we should keep that date.
Well, I know how challenging those things are to do, so I appreciate that.
All right, great. Does anybody else have anything else that they want to add or discuss before we wrap things up? Seeing no hands, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Lubold and seconded by Mr. Tallman. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll take a raise of hands for all those in favor of adjourning the meeting. All right. Keep them up for just a second, guys. Aaron has to count. Thanks.
I'm just saying everybody is
Yeah,
all
I'm
16
assuming.
people.
All right, you can put your hands down.
Opposed.
Any of those opposed to adjourning? All right, so the meeting is officially adjourned at 7:42 p.m. Thank you all very much, and we'll be in touch soon.
Good
Have a
night,
good
everybody. Take care. Good night. Have a good night.